Emerging as the fourth largest comic publishing company, Dark Horse Comics has a fantastic set of comic series and other licensed materials that often do not fit in the mainstream media. But such was not for the adventure of He-Man. Based on the subgenre Sword and Planet, He-Man is the superhero of the Masters of the Universe franchise. The character was made for a toy series, but later was adapted for the comics and the animated TV series. In fact, He-Man was a big hit in the mainstream media. Created by designer Roger Sweet, the character was originally a teenager known as Prince Adam, who received the ability to transform into a mighty hero at the Castle Grayskull. In 2020, a 6-issue DC Comics miniseries was released on He-Man titled He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, which incorporated the comic book necessity concept of the multiverse. This year, the idea of alternate realities was yet again explored in the He-Man universe with Tim Seeley's Masters of the Universe Masterverse. The 4-issue comic series showcased the different versions of He-Man from alternate realities, and in today's marvelous video, we are going to explore all of them. So without further delay, let us begin. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you, and let's begin. Masters of the Universe, Masterverse. Masterverse is more like an anthological approach toward the character's origin. It serves perfectly as a prequel to the original He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. The story fits in place just after Prince receives his mystic powers of transforming into He-Man. The issue begins with the end of a battle between He-Man and the evil Skeletor. While Prince Adam is still overwhelmed by the newly received powers, Teela Na, aka the Sorceress, showcases her complete faith and support to him. However, she is soon visited by the enigmatic cosmic enforcer Zodak, who is doubtful about the event. He had arrived there to investigate the new shift in the balance of the universe after Prince Adam had become He-Man. The Sorceress, in an attempt to showcase why her faith for Prince Adam is justified, takes Zodak to the nexus of all realities and begins showing him Prince Adam and He-Man from different alternate universes. Hence, the journey to the different Eternias from across the multiverse begins. Castle Grayskull Man. The first tour of the Sorceress and Zodak is to a world where Eternia is guarded by the 4 arms of the god, Procrustes. The world had prospered with happiness until the warlord from another world arrived and cast a spell of separation. The spell rendered 1/2 of the planet into a never-ending night, visible only by the light of the moon, Phantos. It is now a desolate place. The villagers are either hunted down by the shadow beasts or perish chasing their lost son across the mystic wall. Prince Adam, Captain Teela, and the court jester Orko can be seen making routine visits to the border villages to supply arms and men in their renewed struggle to get control of Castle Grayskull. On the other side, there is Skeletor's forces who are powerful enough to be the victor. Sneaking away from the rest, Prince Adam makes his way inside the castle. Unlike Prince Adam, who will dive into action, transforming into He-Man, this one is different. As he enters, Prince Adam faces Skeletor's minions at different levels. First, it is Webster, a man-spider assassin from the darkest depths of Eternia. He begins wrapping the prince in his foul-odored webbing, but that does not bother him much as the prince uses his torch to burn his webbings and set him on fire. However, that is his only source of illumination in the dark castle, and as he struggles through his way, Skeletor's next minion, Batros, the Drinker of Life, attacks. The sudden attack makes Prince Adam go for his blade and nearly utter the magical words, but he refrains. Batros is a vampire-like creature, and Prince Adam knows it quite well. The hungry, starved vampire makes careless moves and ends up being thrown to a wall by the prince. Soon appears Orko, who has also snuck away from the group after Teela and the guard go searching for the prince. As the two speak, there appears Scareglow, a creature conjured by Skeletor in his own image from light energy. There's no holding back, and Prince Adam finally plans on summoning his ultimate power. Throughout the journey, for some reason, he has been hesitant to use it, and after he grabs his power sword, he shouts, "By the horror of Grayskull!" He transforms into a horrifying, huge monster. The first thing that he does is he absorbs all of Scareglow's light energy, while Orko watches in shock and fear. However, the prince has it in control and soon reverts back to his human form, stating that it is his duty to save Orko. This form of his is known as the Castle Grayskull Man. The story infers that even after transforming into a raging monster and wielding unfathomable power, Prince Adam chooses to use it responsibly only when in dire need. the barbaric He-Man. The next incarnation of He-Man is from a comical aspect of Eternia. The story begins with Skeletor retrieving the second half of the Power Sword at the high peak of Avon. He-Man could be seen as an ordinary barbarian knocked out by the Beastman, while Teela, Stratos, and Man-at-Arms watch in despair. Soon Skeletor obtains the ultimate power needed to take over Castle Grayskull and leaves. This marks the end of the Great Wars, with Skeletor's victory, but suddenly the Green Goddess appears and informs them that there is still hope and that there is a need for a worthy champion. While the Stone People settle in hideouts in the forest, He-Man is sent to dispose of trash. The tiger we know as Cringer attacks him and tries to eat him. The comical chase ends with the two rumbling over the shaggy beast and knocking it unconscious. This is enough for the Green Goddess to choose He-Man as her champion. As a reward, she offers him the Garment of Strength, the Battle Axe, the Shield, and the Battle Ram. Hiding the fact that he was being chased by the tiger, He-Man states the animal to be his pet, following which Green Goddess offers a war saddle for the pet. Meanwhile, the battle between Teela and Skeletor continues, with the latter freezing Teela in a force field emerging from the Power Sword. Soon arrives He-Man with his weaponry, which falls short against Skeletor's new powers. He-Man requests the Green Goddess for more weapons, and soon she sends him Wind Raider, the Assaulter. However, Skeletor crushes it the moment it arrives. The goddess then sends him the Talon Fighter Chariot of Point Dread, but that too is zapped into nothing by the notorious villain. She sends many such gifts, but nothing lasts more than a few seconds. She finally sends the Playbox, the Killer of Time, and a crate of munches. It is a video game, and it immediately catches the likes of Skeletor, who misses his Playbox, back from his dimension. The battle ends, and Skeletor and He-Man can be seen having a good time with the Playbox. This marks the end of the second incarnation of He-Man. Battle Armor He-Man. The next reality is based on New Eternia. In this reality, King Randor is being mind-washed by his vizier and blue-skinned brother Keldor, who advises him to obtain the mystical Power Sword and conquer the entire Eternos. King Randor sends his most trusted General Adam to lead a crew to find the mystical Castle Grayskull. The story begins with General He-Man and his crew sailing across the ocean. It is the 18th day of the month of Miro, and they are 80 clicks away from Lastport. The ship that they are traveling in, Dreadnought Marlena Glen, has crossed the farthest journey any vehicle from Eternia has ever covered, but still there is no sight of the island of the mythical Castle Grayskull. Prince Adam also has a prisoner named Jitsu, evil martial artist from the animated show, but with a different story. General Adam had rescued him from the depths of Dead Point Prison to serve as a guide to the Castle Grayskull. Jitsu is aware of his purpose and informs Adam that they are near the Isle of Grayskull. The Ningyo fish that are swimming alongside the ship begin drifting away from it, as according to Jitsu, they are afraid of the blackest shadow at the depths of water near Isle Grayskull. Jitsu is right, and finding Grayskull isn't going to be that easy. Dreadnought Marlena Glen is soon attacked by the guardian of the Isle, Nagawani, who kills every member of the crew except for General Adam, who manages to flee the ship with Jitsu. They reach the Isle of Grayskull, and the castle is soon visible to them. Nagawani finishes devouring the ship and its members, and soon charges the two of them on the island. While the general goes inside the castle, the sea monster charges at full speed towards Jitsu, but before he is eaten alive, a bolt of lightning strikes the castle, which marks General Adam receiving the powers that allow him to become He-Man. Back at the King's Court, aka the Palace of Eternos, Keldor breaks the news of Dreadnought Marlena Glen sinking. Believing that the Gretorians are responsible for destroying his beloved ship, King Randor announces war on the Gretorians. However, they are soon interrupted after He-Man and Jitsu arrive with the Power Sword. Pointing his sword at the king and Keldor, He-Man states that Eternos will conquer no more. With this, the story of the third incarnation of He-Man ends. This version of He-Man resembles the Battle Armor He-Man. Although the armor design is slightly different from what we know, the character bio at the back of the He-Man Battle Armor toy confirms it. The character of Jitsu siding with He-Man also showcases that Adam influences people around him to embrace the path of good, thus explaining why he is the most deserving individual for the powers of Castle Grayskull. The world without He-Man. The next iteration is from a world where there is no He-Man, Skeletor, and Castle Grayskull. Themed the crime noir story, the plot begins with Duncan narrating the happenings after He-Man and Skeletor go missing. He is no longer the Man-at-Arms, but an Eternian spy with Evil Lyn as his ally. A new customer soon visits him, and it is none other than Orko. The witty Trollan is shocked upon noticing Duncan working with Evil Lyn, to which Duncan responds by stating that her help is needed in solving supernatural cases. Orko needs to bring back King Randor, whom he has lost after casting a spell. Orko is the only one who knows the secret secret of Adam wielding the power of He-Man, and he keeps it a secret from everyone until He-Man disappears. Due to this, he is no longer trusted by the king and Teela, and his equations with them begin growing sour. However, he cannot watch the king's despair and offers a spell to relieve him, but it backfires and King Randor goes missing. Losing the king will break Teela, and so he casts another spell and creates a simulacrum to prevent her from noticing. Duncan takes his case, and together with Evil Lyn, he goes to Krona's pub at the edge of the Tar Swamp. It is the place for residents who have nowhere to go after Snake Mountain fell. It has become the place for the notorious crowd, and Duncan arrives to have a word with Beastman. After a brief squabble, Beastman informs Duncan and Evil Lyn about Randor, who goes through the bar into Tar Swamp. The fog of the Tar Swamp creates hallucinations for its visitors, which can make them relive their past. Beastman frequently visits the place to relive his pain after his master Skeletor leaves him. As they enter the swamp, Duncan begins having visuals of their past life, where he sees He-Man, Teela, and the rest rejoicing. Beastman also sees his master, but the hallucination comes to a stop after a door opens from below and they crash land inside the king's palace. Orko reveals that he has never actually cast the spell and that it is the king and not a simulacrum lying on his bed. Duncan realizes that it is yet another prank from Orkos, but charges him his fee for wasting his time. Orkos provides the motivation and resources for Duncan to live through another night in a quiet Eternos without any joy in life. The story ends, and the reason why the sorceress Teela Na shows Zodak the world is simply to show how people around He-Man are affected by his good nature and seek refuge in serving the truth even in times of crisis and despair. Champion of the Stone People. Despite showcasing 4 different scenarios highlighting the goodness in Prince Adam, Zodak is not convinced. A small argument erupts between the two, and the sorceress showcases her credibility and might over her decision. She states that her powers will any day surpass Zodak, and also that she has the free will to choose anybody she wishes to bestow the powers of Castle Grayskull upon. However, she plans to prove herself with compassion, and we move into another alternate reality. This time, it is in a primitive and savage world where certain evil forces are mixing magic and machines to poison nearby waters and other habitats. Soon, there are frequent draughts which infuriate the dwellers. They are highly superstitious, and once they notice the shaman of the Beastman tribe, they capture and torture him, believing him to be the cause of their failed crops. The story showcases Teela as a warrior who sneaks up during the night to free Beastman. During the process, she is attacked by He-Man, who in reality is the champion of the Stone People. He-Man, like his tribe, believes Beastman to be a part of the evil forces, and he opposes Teela's attempts to rescue Beastman. After a brief fight, Teela emerges victorious and manages to knock out He-Man unconscious. She states that He-Man's strength is something rare amongst the Stone People, and he can very well be the strongest man in the world. Considering it dangerous, she is about to kill the unconscious He-Man before Beastman asks her to stop. According to him, He-Man must not die. Beastman is aware of the threat that prevails over Eternia. Its soul is being leached away and replaced with black poison from some alien land. He takes to the point where his entire tribe falls into a portal in the sky. Soon, a giant dragon emerges from it. Beastman states that the 3 of them are the only hope for Eternia and wishes to battle alongside the evil horde, making the machines from the past shed their red-brown cancer on Eternia. The story does not symbolize any heroism of Adam or He-Man, but it certainly explains that He-Man is an important asset to Eternia. Viking He-Man. The next story is about a He-Man who is a part of an alcoholic and reckless group of travelers calling themselves the Masters of the Universe. The group consists of Adam, Ram Man, Man-E-Faces, and Stratos. The story begins with Adam being brought back to his senses by his crew members. Their ship, being unnoticed, has run aground on the Isle of Grayskull. While the rest of the crew members show concerns about the terrifying things they have read about Grayskull from their folklore, Adam seems unhinged. He suggests they look around the village for a shipwright to repair their ship. They pick up their tools and begin journeying across the barren lands of the spooky island. At first, they are attacked by wolves, which they easily deal with. Then enters Castle Grayskull. They find the evil being Skeletor with his minions wielding the power sword and the sorceress being restrained. Although the rest of the crew members believe they should save the woman, Adam suggests otherwise. He states that they are explorers in search of the item that the gods have stolen from them and should leave the sorceress to her own fate. He then sits in solitude and begins drinking. While his friends begin tussling, the wineskin hidden beneath the plate armor shatters. In a moment, there is a loud sound and Stratos can be seen gravely injured. In his last words, he suggests that He-Man saves the sorceress. He adds that they have already lost too many and the only thing they can preserve is their soul. With rage in his eyes for losing his friends, Adam, aka He-Man, charges towards Skeletor and his minions. He defeats them, following which the sorceress hands him over the power sword and vanishes. It's quite confusing why the sorceress showcases this reality to Zodak, whereas He-Man is a reckless barbarian with no empathy and responsibility. However, his frivolous nature marks an end after he loses his friends. This can help make sense that despite the conditions and the odds, only Prince Adam will be receiving the power sword and the powers of Grayskull. The representation of He-Man as showcased is similar to the Viking He-Man. Netflix version of He-Man. The Sorceress next takes us to a world similar to what has been shown in the recent 2021 Netflix He-Man and the Masters of the Universe CGI animated series. The band of heroes led by He-Man are to face their clones. The story begins with the 4 clones causing a rampage and stealing. King Randor's forces are eager to shoot them, but the king stops them, believing that the Masters of the Universe have always been their beacon of hope, and such an act is surely a sort of misunderstanding. Meanwhile, the real Masters of the Universe watch the entire act of their copycats from Castle Grayskull. The sorceress believes this to be a bait set by Skeletor to defeat the Masters and take over Castle Grayskull, for which she asks them to hold on until their true purposes are revealed. However, Prince Adam disagrees. He states that his father has already witnessed his brother Keldor get corrupted by power, and witnessing the same for his son will break him completely. He raises his sword and summons his powers, and together with the rest of his team, he makes his way to confront the clones. Soon, a fierce battle erupts between the true Masters of the Universe and their clones. As the chances of victory begin shrieking, Orko plays his trick. By then, it is revealed that the clones are powered by havoc magic, created from the fears and evils of the true Masters. Soon, Orko manages to upload the fears and insecurities within the clones' following, which starts fighting amongst themselves. Finally, the real Masters of the Universe manage to defeat them and emerge victorious. King He-Man. In the final story, we see several different versions of He-Man fighting against a multiversal threat, Modulok. The story begins with He-Soul, an alternate version of He-Man, defeating Skeletor and diving in through a portal. He lands in another universe in the middle of a huge, fierce battle. An infinite number of attackers swarm Castle Grayskull, with He-Man and the He-Force defending it. Even He-Ra and He-Who are present in the fight. While the battle continues, Zack the He-Cat begins explaining the origins of Modulok to He-Soul. Modulok is a scientist named Galen Nycroft who is not content with his brain. He eventually gives himself 2 brains and begins working for Skeletor. At some point, he realizes he cannot settle with 2 brains and needs more. Thus, his need for brains continues, and he begins taking brains from other realities as well. He can connect all these brains via the bioetheric field and becomes a fractal intellect. However, this leads to his overloading, and then he begins spreading his genes to every living thing he can. At present, he wishes to acquire the divine powers of He-Man's power sword. We get a glimpse of King He-Man in golden armor. All the members of the He-Force with whom he has previously shared his powers boost his powers until he becomes strong enough to take Modulok and the Mega Beast. The story abruptly ends without showcasing the end result of the battle. However, the scene shifts to Sorceress and Zodak. Modulok arrives through one of the portals, but so does King He-Man and the He-Force. They knock Modulok into space, thereby putting an end to his wrath. King He-Man and Zodak shake hands, and Zodak is convinced that Prince Adam is the right candidate for bearing such divine power. Conclusion. So we have finally come to the end of our video, and we hope you liked our content. Although the mini-series beautifully carves out an anthological approach to Prince Adam becoming He-Man, there could have been more in the last story. The battle between Modulok and the He-Force itself could have been a mini-series, and restricting it to just a few pages in an issue was not enough. However, the Masterverse series has received many good reviews, and we can't wait to witness it all in the animated series. Thank you for watching till the end, and feel free to leave your comments below.